Chapter 21, Vegeta. The legendary Super Saiyan. Not bad, tell me. Vegeta nodded. Please make your wish in the Namekian language, Porunga replied. Vegeta felt a pang of frustration again. Vegeta, how do I become a Super Saiyan? Haven't I already explained it clearly to you before? Lord sighed, do you want to waste a wish? Humph, I want to hear it from the dragon himself. Who knows if what you're saying is true? Vegeta didn't believe it. Think it over. This is your only wish, Lord said. Humph, isn't there still one more wish? Vegeta snorted. Vegeta, I need you to understand something. Don't be so greedy in life, one wish is enough. Lord taught, patting Vegeta's shoulder. Vegeta. Grand Elder. The Namekians present couldn't stop rolling their eyes. Don't be so greedy in life. Did you say that? Just now, you wanted a genie, thinking of making several wishes. Indeed, being lenient on oneself and strict with others is human nature. Of course, as long as I know how to become a Super Saiyan, I can do without other wishes. Vegeta snorted, seeming to understand. As long as he could become a Super Saiyan, he would become the number one in the universe. Why would he need other wishes? He's still young. He doesn't need eternal life, either. When he truly becomes the number one in the universe, with a broader perspective, he'll think of other wishes. Fine, I'll grant your wish then. Lord nodded, reiterating Vegeta's wish in somewhat clumsy Namekian language. Shenron, please explain in detail about the Super Saiyan. This is our wish. Super Saiyan, simply put, can be divided into legendary Super Saiyan and ordinary Super Saiyan. Porunga's voice rang out, and the legendary Super Saiyan, widely circulated among Saiyans, is a super warrior born once every 1,000 years, who must possess the bloodline of the legendary Super Saiyan to accomplish it. Ordinary Saiyans cannot become the legendary Super Saiyan if they do not have the bloodline of the legendary Super Saiyan. Humph, so that means neither I nor Lord have the bloodline of the legendary Super Saiyan. Vegeta felt indignant. Yes, Porunga nodded. Vegeta looked deeply at Lord, feeling more balanced in his heart. It would be even more painful if a legendary Super Saiyan was by his side. But who is the legendary Super Saiyan? Could it be that Kakarot Lord mentioned? It shouldn't be. His power level is only 2, right? How could a low-class warrior with a power level of only 2 be the legendary Super Saiyan? Wait a minute. I seem to remember something. I remember hearing someone say that among those born around the same time as me, besides Lord, there was another very talented warrior. He seems to have been exiled by my father, the king. What was his name again? Could that person be the legendary Super Saiyan? Whether Super Saiyan or legendary Super Saiyan, it's a transformation. Although neither of you can become the legendary Super Saiyan, you can transform into ordinary Super Saiyans through your efforts. Shenron Porunga's voice echoed in the sky. The transformation of an ordinary Super Saiyan can increase your power by 50 times. What? 50 times? Nappa's face changed repeatedly. That brat's great ape transformation is already freaky enough. Yet a Super Saiyan transformation can increase strength by 50 times? Vegeta. Vegeta turned his head to look at Lord. Lord had mentioned before that being a Super Saiyan might be a transformation. And it turns out to be true. To become an ordinary Super Saiyan, the first prerequisite is to have a peaceful heart, which will cause S cells to be born within you. When your power level reaches a certain value, and S cells saturate, you can transform into a Super Saiyan through intense emotional fluctuations. Shenron Porunga explained in detail about the Super Saiyan and added, your second wish has been granted. Please state your third wish. Shenron, we have no more wishes, thank you. Lord smiled slightly, in life, don't be too greedy. I was thinking of asking you for another 100 wishes earlier. Shenron. Okay, then, farewell. Porunga nodded, and his body dissipated in an instant. Whoosh! The 7 Dragon Balls also swiftly flew into the sky. Then, after reaching a certain height, the 7 Dragon Balls rapidly descended from the sky. Da 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 da! The 7 Dragon Balls landed beside Lord, already turned into stone. The sky returned to brightness. Lord heard that after the Namekian Dragon Balls grant a wish, they do not scatter around the world but gather together. Earth's Dragon Balls were originally gathered together, but later, Earth's Kami scattered them worldwide because of human greed. Grand Elder looked at Lord, showing a face of astonishment and admiration. Although this kid's way of speaking is a bit irritating, he's commendable. There's still one wish left, yet he doesn't want it. Very few people can do this. Porunga said to let them have a peaceful heart. I see this lord already has a peaceful heart. It's just that their prince seems to have a somewhat irritable temperament and still needs some polishing. What? You don't need the third wish. Vegeta was also momentarily shocked, immediately turning to look at Lord. Lord was indifferent. Lord's greatest wish is to have the ability to survive in space. Once he overcomes this weakness, it'll be much more convenient for whatever he wants to do in the future. As for wishes like eternal life, the Lord feels, the name Qian Shenren might not be able to grant them. Besides, when he cultivates into a true angel in the future, his lifespan will also become eternal. That's not a problem at all. Elder Grand Elder, Elder Muri, friends, we should take our leave too. Lord smiled and bid farewell to the Namekians present. Okay, come back when you have time to play. Muri came forward, holding Lord's hand, saying warmly. Definitely. Lord nodded, then asked, how many days until the next restoration of the Dragon Balls? Muri suddenly didn't want to speak any more. Are you complaining that there was only one wish left just now? Cough cough, because there was still one wish left just now, it will take about 80 days for the Dragon Balls to restore. Grand Elder wiped his sweat on the side but still explained. I will come back. Lord waved his hand. Grand Elder. Then, Lord bid farewell to the Namekians and boarded the spaceship with Vegeta. The spaceship soared into the air. Whoosh! The spaceship broke through the planet's atmosphere, leaving behind a bright trail in the sky, quickly flying into space. Watching the direction in which the spaceship disappeared, Grand Elder contemplated. Chapter 22, Is he a god? Elder, any questions? Niru asked. That little guy called Ren might become a great god in the future, the elder said with a smile. A god? Is he a god? Niru was stunned, showing a face of surprise. Mulai and the Namekians also looked curiously at the elder. The special energy fluctuations on his body, if I guess correctly, should be the aura of a god, the elder sighed. Could he be the god of the Super Saiyan? Mulai asked in astonishment. Perhaps he may go even further, the elder said with a slight smile. Brief silence. After all, he easily saved the entire Namek. Perhaps only a true god can do that. Ordinary humans probably can't, the elder lamented, even the Shenlong Porunga cannot make the negative energy of our Namek disappear. All the Namekians present fell into contemplation. Clap. Delta immediately knelt, bowed to the starry sky, and proudly said, I once taught a god and learned the language of Namek. The elder. Mulai. Many Namekians wiped their sweat silently. Space. Inside Ren's spaceship. Vegeta had been silent all the way. Until the spaceship had flown in the stars for about 10 minutes. Vegeta suddenly came to his senses, turned his head to look at Ren, and asked, Can you tell me now who that legendary Super Saiyan is? Better not to say it. It's annoying, Ren sighed, you know, regardless, we are the most talented warriors of our generation, aren't we? But in the end, we're not the chosen ones. Vegeta. You saying that makes it even more annoying. We are at least the most talented warriors of our generation. But neither of us is the legendary Super Saiyan. And the legendary Super Saiyan is someone else. It's frustrating. Forget it, Vegeta didn't want to inquire any more and snorted, maybe, he's already dead. Ren. You're harsh. But speaking of which, this trip to Namek feels surreal, Vegeta frowned, stroking his chin in contemplation. What do you mean? Ren was puzzled. I feel like it's a trap, Vegeta snorted. A trap? Ren was a bit confused. Is what that dragon said true? Vegeta is half believed and half doubted. False, all false, Ren sighed. Humph, I knew it was false. You and the Namekians deliberately colluded to deceive me while I was unconscious, right? Vegeta snorted. Ren was stunned at the time, staring at Vegeta without blinking and looking at his youthful face. Ren didn't know what to say for a moment. You're talented. Did I deliberately collude with the Namekians to deceive you? How idle am I? No more to say, surprised. Vegeta snorted, seeing Ren's surprised expression and feeling right about his speculation. Ren. Ren was almost choked. Why is what the dragon said exactly like what you said? Vegeta snorted, squinting at Ren. Tell me, what's the explanation for this? Alright, you're right, talented, Ren sighed and patted Vegeta's shoulder as he walked away. Humph, you've been proven right. Vegeta kept snorting, his tail raised high. I said the dragon's words were similar to yours. And so calm. It's nonsense. Ren didn't want to deal with Vegeta anymore, turned and left. As he left, Ren couldn't help but leave a word, you're hopeless, aren't you? Who's hopeless? Is he famous? Vegeta was stunned. Very famous. Ren nodded. Then tell me, how strong is this guy called Hopeless? Vegeta suddenly became interested. Ren. I remember playing a game before, his strength was 21, intelligence 16, politics 15, charm 20, command 18. I can't remember the rest. Ren pondered. Vegeta. What a mess. What are you talking about? Vegeta looked puzzled. Ren didn't bother with Vegeta anymore, so he turned and walked towards his room. But Vegeta quickly caught up. Hey, don't go! Vegeta exclaimed. Is there anything else? My prince. Ren sighed. Humph, being with you is boring. I was hoping for your healing technique to quickly boost my combat power, but I've figured it out, I'll train through my efforts. Vegeta snorted, I'm the most talented warrior. I don't need anyone's help. So, should I take you to find Raditz and Nappa? Ren suggested. Fine, anything's better than your boring pacifism. Vegeta nodded, I thought I could fight on Namek, if it weren't for you stopping me, I would have wiped out that planet. Okay, let's go find Raditz and Nappa. That should be fine, right? Ren didn't object. The detector's broken. How will you find them? Vegeta asked. Our spaceship's locator system was damaged, but the communication system is intact, we can contact them, Ren said. You're right. Vegeta's eyes lit up, immediately using the spaceship's communicator to establish contact with Raditz. Raditz's voice quickly came through the speaker. Hey? Prince Vegeta? We're on the planet Kurite, and the resources here are very good, we just conquered it and can sell it for a good price. Raditz quickly replied. Chapter 23, Meeting Nappa and Raditz again. Planet Kurite? I've heard of that planet, I'll come to find you there. Vegeta replied. Raditz was stunned. You're coming to find us? But before, you chased us away and made us act alone. Why do you want to come find us now? What? Not welcome? Vegeta asked. Welcome, of course, welcome. It would be our honor if Prince Vegeta could team up with us. Raditz replied. Good then. Vegeta's lips curled slightly, and his face was smug. Raditz, this little brother, is more obedient. At least he knows how to please me. Looking at Nappa, this guy doesn't respect this prince at all. Oh, right, Prince Vegeta, there's something, Raditz suddenly became serious. What is it? Vegeta asked. Dodoria killed the two unlucky guys who teamed up with us, now only me and Nappa are left. Raditz gritted his teeth, Dodoria said it was because we acted on our own that those two were killed. Humph, that's enough, I killed his brother, Vegeta smirked. What? Zarbon. Raditz was shocked, I heard his power level has reached 17,000. Humph, this prince's power level is now 18,000. Vegeta looked pleased with himself. Ah! Prince Vegeta's power level has already reached 18,000. Raditz exclaimed in astonishment. Of course, this prince is a genius. Vegeta smiled brightly, wait for me there. I'll come over immediately. Swoosh! The spaceship changed direction in the starry sky, speeding towards the region where Nappa and Raditz were. Frisia's spaceship. Vegeta and Raditz were communicating, and because Frisia's side controlled the communication line, Frisia's underlings immediately received messages from both sides. Lord Frisia, we've received a message from Vegeta. A minion reported. What? Where is he? I'll kill him, avenge my brother. Dodoria clenched his fists tightly, glaring coldly at the minion who reported. Frisia squinted at Dodoria. Dodoria immediately backed off, shutting his mouth. What did Vegeta say? Frisia asked with interest. He said he's going to find Nappa and Raditz. The minion replied. Oh. Frisia was a bit puzzled by Vegeta's meaning. Vegeta and Zarbon had already damaged the spaceship's communication system, so they shouldn't be contacting Nappa and Raditz again. Perhaps the spaceship's positioning system malfunctioned on its own. Frisia speculated. It's interesting that he was able to kill Zarbon. His power level must have exceeded Zarbon's. Frisia pondered, in that case. Saying that, Frisia turned to look at Dodoria. Dodoria immediately became nervous, quickly shutting his mouth. Dodoria, Vegeta still has some use for me. I don't want you to seek revenge just yet, do you understand? Frisia instructed coldly. Yes, Lord Frisia. Dodoria bowed again. You may leave. Frisia waved his hand towards Dodoria. Dodoria left Frisia's room with a frustrated and resentful expression. Lord Frisia, do you want to keep Vegeta? Zarbon asked. I'm curious how he managed to increase his power level so quickly in such a short time. Something must have happened during this period. Frisia sat in his hover chair, tail swaying back and forth, with a smile on his face. He was able to kill Zarbon, and his power level is at least 18,000 now, whereas before, it was only 15,000. Zarbon analyzed. His power level increased by 3,000 suddenly, quite interesting. Frisia snorted. Lord Frisia, I heard Saiyans thrive in adversity and often continue to improve themselves during battles. Zarbon smiled, this time, facing off against Zarbon, Vegeta might have had the opportunity to make a breakthrough. What you said makes sense. Frisia nodded slightly, his expression somewhat cold. It seems like as soon as he slightly increases his power level, he starts thinking too highly of himself. We'll have to find a way to teach him a better lesson, eliminating him seems too easy. Lord Frisia, didn't you want to keep a pet? Zarbon suggested with a mysterious smile. Oh? What do you mean, Zarbon? Frisia squinted at him. Zarbon's suggestion intrigued Frisia. All right, please proceed, Bilibu, Frisia instructed. Yes, Lord Frisia. Bilibu readily agreed. 20 days later. Nappa's spaceship landed on the planet Kurite. Nappa and Raditz immediately came to greet them. The two were almost scared witless by Dodoria before. With Vegeta coming, they seem to have solid backing now and feel much safer. Prince Vegeta, you finally arrived. Raditz looked somewhat ingratiatingly at Vegeta. Prince Vegeta, we've prepared a sumptuous feast for you, Nappa added quickly. Let's go eat something first. I'm a bit hungry. Vegeta nodded in satisfaction. Ren followed behind Vegeta, heading towards the distance. The four soon arrived at a huge castle. This is where the king of the Kurites resides. It's just in time for us to make use of it. Nappa smiled. Chapter 25, Planet Vampa. Since then, let's part ways. Ren didn't insist. Go ahead, Saiyans have their way of fighting. They don't need your assistance. Vegeta snorted. Good luck. When we meet again in a few years, I hope your power level will increase, not just by 18,000 now. Ren patted Vegeta's shoulder. Humph, by the time we meet again, my power level will have surpassed 100,000. Vegeta confidently smiled. Ren nodded slightly. Your attitude annoys me. Vegeta snorted. Take care, Vegeta. After Ren finished speaking, he immediately flew into the sky. Hey, Ren, aren't you joining us on this mission? Although your power level is lower, you can handle logistics. Raditz waved to Ren. How about joining us? Nappa also suggested. Ren ignored them, quickly entering the spaceship. Shoo! The spaceship ascended into the sky, breaking through the planet's atmosphere and leaving the planet. Goodbye. Raditz waved farewell. Oh! Vegeta's pupils shrank, his face turning grim. What's wrong, Prince Vegeta? Nappa blinked, asking curiously. That guy Ren. He took off in that small spaceship. Vegeta gritted his teeth in anger, trembling violently. Huh? What should we do? Raditz was dumbfounded. That scoundrel Ren. Vegeta was furious, that's my spaceship. There are still 2 spherical spaceships on this planet. Nappa explained on the side, should we go after him? Vegeta. Chasing after what? That's the flagship. How can we catch up? Forget it, tidy up this planet, then let's go to another planet. Vegeta thought carefully, instructing Raditz and Nappa. Ren controlled the spaceship to soar into the starry sky. The spaceship left a bright trail in the cosmic space. Ren had already decided to visit the planet Vampa. Since Ren would become a true angel in the future, naturally, he would have a god of destruction as his subordinate. Originally, Ren was going to cultivate Vegeta into his god of destruction. But seeing Vegeta's unruly character, Ren suddenly changed his mind. It's not worth the effort to cultivate Vegeta. It's better to cultivate a more obedient subordinate. Ren seriously considered it and felt that Broly was a good choice. Broly is a legendary Super Saiyan, and his strength is formidable. Maybe Broly's power level is already over 1,000,000 by now. Ren was even a little excited. The Saiyan blood seemed to be boiling. It would take at least 6 days to get to the planet Vampa. During these 6 days, Ren once again painstakingly condensed the power of the angel and purified it. The 6 days passed quickly. Ren saw a distant yellowish-brown planet Vampa through the spaceship window. It's an extremely harsh environment, with no grass growing on the planet, not even liquid water. In addition, the planet is covered by sandstorms all year round, with fierce winds raging as if beasts were howling in pain. Broly lives in such an environment. Broly's age is similar to Ren's, also 5 years old. At age 3, Broly was exiled to this planet by King Vegeta. Broly's father landed on this planet with him, but the spaceship malfunctioned, and they could never return. If nothing unexpected happens, the father and son will be stranded here for 40 years. During these 6 days, Ren made some progress in condensing the power of the angel. Unfortunately, the purity of Ren's angelic power is still at level 8 and has not reached level 9. Ren urgently wanted to raise the purity of the angelic power to level 10 so that he could verify his conjecture and become the god of the Super Saiyan. Ren's eyes were full of anticipation. Ren suspended the spaceship above planet Vampa. Click. Ren pressed the button to open the hatch, then flew out of the spaceship. Whoosh. Ren descended rapidly towards the ground. On the surface of planet Vampa. In a natural open-air cave covered with insect eggs. It's been 2 years. 2 years. I've been trapped here for 2 years. Paragus sighed as he looked up at the sky, his expression full of despair as he gazed at the endless yellow sand. Broly was eating insect eggs beside him, not feeling disgusted but enjoying it. Paragus glanced back at Broly, especially seeing him eating the insect eggs, feeling nauseous and wanting to vomit every time. Is this something humans eat? The environment on this planet is just too harsh. There's nothing to eat or drink here except for insect eggs. Not even the most basic freshwater resources. When will this end? Damn, King Vegeta. Broly, I'm going out to look again. This time, I'll go further, maybe there will be better discoveries. Paragus, unwilling to give up, decided to explore further. Paragus had already explored a large area of this planet in the past 2 years, but some areas still hadn't been carefully investigated. Maybe there's an oasis at the end of the desert. Broly obediently nodded. After Paragus left, not long after, Ren descended from the sky, appearing in front of Broly. Broly looked up, curiously examining Ren. Broly. Ren smiled and greeted. Broly nodded blankly. Attack me with all your strength, let me test your level. Ren beckoned to Broly. After a brief hesitation, Broly immediately nodded in agreement. Then, Broly's energy erupted, rushing towards Ren at lightning speed. Ren sensed Broly's energy intensity for a moment. This kid is indeed extraordinary. No wonder he's known as the legendary Super Saiyan. With just a simple burst of energy, his power level has already reached 100,000. Watching Broly charging towards him, Ren raised his left hand, the power of the angel flashing in his hand. Click. Broly's fist landed heavily on Ren's hand. Ren also used his hand to catch Broly's incoming punch. Chapter 26, Broly cried. Bam! Immediately, Ren slapped forward with his right hand, and a brilliant light burst out like stars. With a dull sound, Ren's hand landed on Broly. Boom! Broly's body flew backward like a meteor, crashing into a large mountain behind him and embedding deeply into the rocks. Broly let out a howl of pain, energy surging again on his body, rallying himself and rushing again towards where Ren was. Bam bam bam! Broly launched fierce attacks on Ren. Using his free spirit technique, Ren simply evaded Broly's punches and kicks. Broly kept attacking for a long time but couldn't even touch Ren's clothes. Ah! Broly seemed infuriated, trembling all over, his energy surging like a tide. The next moment, Broly's pupils turned white, his eyes completely devoid of color. Then, Broly's body expanded, his energy reaching its peak. Ren could sense that Broly's base combat power had reached at least 1 million. This was the true legendary Super Saiyan. And Broly hadn't even transformed yet. He was only 5 years old. At 5 years old, his combat power was already over 1 million. Incredibly powerful. If Vegeta were here, he would probably be instantly defeated. After expanding his body, Broly's combat power quickly increased to 10 million. Broly hadn't transformed. He had just released the power of the Great Ape, instantly increasing his combat power tenfold. However, as a result, Broly immediately lost his sanity. Could he not lose his sanity? Broly had been fighting Ren for a long but couldn't land a hit. Ah! Broly was thoroughly infuriated, his energy surging wildly, and then he once again rushed toward Ren. He. Broly launched fierce attacks on Ren. Ren didn't engage in direct combat with Broly. He even closed his eyes, evading Broly's attacks with his free spirit technique. 3 minutes later. Huff! Broly gasped heavily, feeling waves of despair, his young face showing some frustration. Wow! The next moment, Broly burst into tears. Ren! Cough, why are you crying? Ren wiped his sweat. And you're in a rampage mode now, okay? Rampage mode with crying. Broly felt even more aggrieved. You cheater! I've been fighting you for so long and still can't touch you. So frustrating. It's like kids fighting. One kid hits the other for ages and still can't land a hit. Can you not cry in frustration? In the end, for the current Broly, he's just a 5-year-old kid. Ren is a transmigrator. In terms of maturity, he's completely different from his current age. Alright, this time, I won't dodge. Ren sighed helplessly. Broly's eyes lit up, and even the whiteness in his pupils regained some color. Boom! Broly's energy surged again, his aura blowing away the surrounding yellow sand. Ren sensed Broly's energy intensity, and his combat power now reached approximately 20 million. Ren could tell that this was probably Broly's current limit. In this state, his maximum combat power reached 20 million. Don't forget, he's only 5 years old now. Given enough room for growth, his future achievements are immeasurable. Broly's eyes burned with passion, full of endless fighting spirit, and he rushed towards where Ren was. Smack! Broly's fist heavily hit Ren's hand. Ren's hand exuded the power of angels, easily catching Broly's fist. Broly widened his eyes, showing a face of disbelief. Not bad, you've got some strength. Ren commented, then grabbed Broly's wrist and slammed him heavily onto the ground. Pfft! Broly spat out blood, feeling like his whole body had fallen apart. Swoosh! Ren waved his hand, and a surge of angelic power covered Broly's body. Instantly, Broly's colorless eyes blinked slightly, then immediately returned to normal. Get up! Ren extended his hand to Broly, friendly. Broly blinked his eyes and held hands with Ren. Ren pulled Broly up from the ground. At the same time, Ren released the power of angels again, covering Broly's body. In just an instant, Broly's injuries completely healed. Hi! Broly felt the change in his body, his young face filled with shock. Broly, do you want to explore the universe with me? Ren smiled kindly. Broly seemed to understand, nodding vigorously. Then, follow me. Ren smiled. Saying nothing more, Ren quickly flew into the sky. Broly scratched his head and, without much hesitation, quickly followed suit. After flying to a certain height, Broly immediately saw the spaceship floating in the sky. Let's go. Ren beckoned and entered the spaceship. Broly hesitated briefly, then immediately followed Ren into the spaceship. After entering the spaceship, Broly curiously examined its interior structure, looking increasingly confused. Depart. Ren pressed the spaceship's start button. Whoosh! The spaceship flashed brightly in space, swiftly leaving the planet Vampa and cruising in the vast sea of stars. Dad, Broly scratched his head, suddenly remembering something, speaking in a language not very fluent. I'm not your dad. I'm called Ren. Ren smiled. Broly. Not, Dad, Broly pointed to the distant planet Vampa. I am not your dad, we're close in age, how could I be your dad? Ren shook his head. Broly was at a loss for how to express himself. My dad is still on that planet. Broly knows everything but just can't express it. Chapter 27, Earth, Here I Come. Drink some water first. Ren changed the subject and handed over a bottle of water. Ren naturally knew that Broly's father, Paragus, was still on the Vampa planet. But Ren can't take Paragus with him. Broly's father is similar to most Saiyans, he is full of evil in his heart and is trying to control Broly. If Paragus's spaceship had not malfunctioned on the Vampa planet, he would have found a way to control his son Broly and train him into a tool to seize the throne for himself. It's not Ren's style to keep such people around. Broly is different from his father. He is a relatively simple Saiyan, and his personality is even somewhat similar to that of Sun Wukong. Ren just wants to take Broly away. Broly took the kettle handed over by Ren and looked through it carefully. He didn't know how to open it. He looked up at Ren with a confused look on his face. You do this, then do this, and do this again. Ren took out another kettle, pressed the button on the kettle, and revealed the straw. Ren took a sip of water through the straw. Broly followed Ren's example, opened the kettle lid, put his mouth on the straw, and took a sip. Immediately afterward, Broly's eyes lit up, his expression full of excitement and surprise. What is this? Why does it taste so good? Goodoo. Goodoo. Broly quickly drank the large bottle of water. Broly wiped the water from the corners of his mouth with the back of his hand and even clucked his lips. Broly felt so happy. Good man, Broly looked at Ren with a grateful expression. Ren. I gave you a water bottle, and you said I was a good person. Would you like ham? Ren took out another piece of ham and handed it to Broly. Broly's eyes flashed with confusion again, and he even put his nose up to sniff it like a dog. After smelling the aroma of ham, Broly's eyes showed surprise, confusion, and a hint of greed. Immediately afterward, Broly snatched the ham and bit into it. Taking a bite of ham, Broly felt endless deliciousness. Broly suddenly felt that the food he had eaten before tasted worse than shit. Now, this is called delicious food. Broly felt that happiness came too suddenly. There are such delicious things in this world. While eating, Broly's tears fell. I want to eat, but I am greedy. Broly was crying. Don't worry. There will be more delicious food waiting for you in the future. Ren said with a smile. Broly nodded vigorously and quickly ate the ham in his hand. Then he raised his head, stared at Ren eagerly, and licked his tongue. Ren. Broly, you are a human, not a dog. Ren said with a smile. Dog. Broly had no idea about dogs. You will understand later. Ren smiled slightly. Dad, Broly suddenly thought of something and turned again to look toward planet Vampa. I'm not your father. Just call me Ren from now on. Ren said. Broly scratched his head vigorously, not knowing how to answer this question. Planet Vampa. When Paragus returned from exploring outside, he saw a messy scene near his home. Did he go berserk again? Paragus frowned, this bastard. This son of a bitch. He made such a mess here. Immediately afterward, Paragus looked around, looking for Broly everywhere. Broly, this little bastard, where is he now? Paragus muttered in a low voice and shouted Broly's name loudly. However, there was no movement from Broly. But Paragus was not worried because Broly would go on a rampage in the past, and there was a certain chance of him getting lost. It doesn't matter if he gets lost. He will come back when he returns to normal. The longest time, it took Broly 7 days to come back. However, what Paragus didn't know was that this time, Broly never returned. 2 years. 2 years. I, Paragus, have been trapped on this barren planet for 2 years. Paragus looked up to the sky and sighed. The vast starry sky and the vast universe. Ren's spaceship, traveling rapidly, drew a bright arc in the sea of stars. Next, Ren plans to go to Earth. After all, there are many good things on the Earth. Like fairy beans or something. Although Ren can heal himself, if the angel's power is used up, he will not be able to heal himself unless he waits for the angel's power to slowly recover. Previously, on Namek, Ren used the powerful power of angels to eliminate all negative energy. Ren's angelic power was almost exhausted, and it took several hours to replenish it. If you have a fairy bean, it will be much more convenient to replenish it. Moreover, Ren also plans to collect some delicacies on the earth and put them into a universal capsule. The most important thing is that Ren wants to transform this spaceship into a capsule to carry it with him. Although Ren can now survive in space, his flight speed is still far behind that of a spaceship. Before the speed exceeds that of a spaceship is the best means of travel. In addition, Broly is still unable to survive in the universe. If that doesn't work, he can use the Dragon Balls of the Earth to help Broly achieve the ability to survive in the universe. Of course, the premise is that Broly is obedient enough. Ren wouldn't mind sending him back to the Vampa planet if he was as unruly as Vegeta. The spacecraft is traveling rapidly toward the Earth at an extremely fast speed. About 10 days have passed. Ren saw the familiar but unfamiliar blue planet in the universe, the Earth. Viewed from space, the Earth seems to be a blue gem, emitting a charming blue light. In the vast starry sky, the Earth appears so small and fragile, like an abandoned orphan, silently facing the vast universe alone. However, this lonely planet carries the hopes and dreams of countless lives. Broly also saw this beautiful planet and couldn't help but rub his eyes. His eyes widened with shock. This is the first time for Broly to see such a beautiful planet. Broly still couldn't speak fluently. Surprisedly, he pointed to the blue planet and turned to look at Ren. "That's the Earth," Ren replied. "Dad," Broly patted his forehead and suddenly thought his father was still on Vampa. Chapter 28, Lapis and Lazuli. "That's not your dad, that's Earth. Don't call everyone dad," Ren said. Broly decided to stay silent. "I didn't mean that. I just don't know how to express it." Swoosh! The spaceship broke through the planet's atmosphere and quickly descended towards the Earth. Capital City. Western District. People in the district were busy with their work as usual. On the bustling streets, people came and went in an endless stream. Two beautiful women were sitting at the entrance of a coffee shop, drinking coffee and chatting idly. "The weather today is nice, clear skies with no clouds in sight. Are you going to become a poet?" The two women were chatting when suddenly, a large shadow appeared in the sky, casting a grey hue over the area. The two women were shocked and immediately looked up at the sky. Above the sky, a flat, circular spaceship floated in mid-air. The diameter of the spaceship was about 30 meters, resembling a massive object in the sky. Although this spaceship was considered small, it appeared quite large compared to the city. The two women were dumbfounded, unable to say anything as they looked up at the spaceship in the sky. Is that a spaceship?" One of the women blinked rapidly, her face turning pale. Is it aliens?" The other woman stuttered, her coffee spilling out of her cup, unaware that her pants were already wet. Other residents nearby also looked astonished at the spaceship. Squeak! The cabin door of the spaceship opened, and Ren flew out from inside, hovering in the sky like a true god. However, because Ren was only 5 years old this year, he appeared somewhat small, especially with his tail swaying in the wind, making him look somewhat comical at this moment. Following closely behind Ren, Broly flew out, scratching his head, and looked down at the humans and peculiar buildings below. Broly looked increasingly confused. "Where is this place? It looks so strange. It was the first time I saw humans without tails." After witnessing this scene, the people in the city were all wide-eyed and speechless, their faces serious. A nearby 6-year-old boy excitedly shouted, "Wow, cool! Are they aliens?" His sister also looked at Ren in astonishment. However, the boy's mother was startled. "Hey, alien, take me away quickly! I've had enough. I don't want to do homework anymore," the boy shouted at Ren. "Humph, like you have so much homework!" His sister snorted, "Every time, it's me who ends up doing your homework for you. Take me and my sister away," the boy shouted. The children's mother quickly covered her son and daughter's mouths, her face turning pale, and hugged them tightly as if afraid aliens would take them away. Ren wiped his sweat silently. Are kids in the Dragon Ball world like this? These two kids don't seem very old. Do they have a lot of homework? Wait a minute. Why do these two kids look somewhat familiar? They seem like people I know. Kids, what are your names? Ren turned to the boy, curious. He's talking. The two children hadn't spoken yet, and the women nearby trembled violently. I'm Lapis, and my sister is Lazuli. The boy said their names. Lapis? Lazuli? Ren was slightly stunned. No wonder these two kids looked somewhat familiar. It turns out they are the future of Android 17 and 18. From their appearance, they indeed resembled the future 17 and 18. Do you have a lot of homework? Ren asked. Humph, not originally, but after finishing my homework, I still have to do my brother's. Lazuli said gloomily. We aliens don't have homework. I'm about the same age as you, and I'm already 5 years old this year and can travel in space. Isn't that interesting? Ren smiled. Lapis and Lazuli immediately showed envy. To be able to travel in space at the age of 5? Aliens are carefree. Looking at us, we just do homework every day. Please take us away, let's travel with you. Lapis quickly requested. Yeah, take me and my brother away. Lazuli also looked at Ren expectantly. Mr. Alien, the kids are just joking. Please don't take it seriously. The children's mother was almost crying. Can you fly? Ren asked. Lapis and Lazuli shook their heads together. Learn to fly first. Ren smiled. Lapis and Lazuli fell silent. Does anyone know where the western capital is? Ren asked from above. It's in that direction. The woman who was drinking coffee cautiously pointed in a certain direction. Miss, your pants are wet. Ren pointed at the woman's pants with his finger. Ah, the woman looked down and screamed in shock. Good luck to everyone. Ren waved and returned to the spaceship. Broly scratched his head and followed Ren back into the spaceship. Swoosh! The spaceship soared into the sky and disappeared in an instant. The people present all stared with wide eyes, looking up at the sky, taking a long time to come back to their senses. Bang! 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 Then, what awaited Lapis and Lazuli was a severe beating. The children's mother scolded the two kids severely. Just in first grade and already skipping school? Doing homework with the sister, or even doing the brother's homework. The siblings cried loudly. Wow, the aliens are so mean. Lapis cried sadly. Humph, when I learn to fly, I won't let them off. Lazuli pouted angrily, wiping her tears. Western Capital, Capsule Corporation Headquarters. The spaceship slowly landed in the courtyard of Capsule Corporation Headquarters. A spaceship of this size in the courtyard quickly alarmed Bulma's father, Dr. Briefs. Dr. Briefs immediately rode over on his bicycle and adjusted his glasses, looking at Ren and Broly walking out of the spaceship. Oh my, are you aliens? Dr. Briefs looked at Ren and Broly in amazement. Hello, Doctor. I heard you are the most famous scientist on this planet, right? Ren greeted me proactively. Broly followed behind Ren like a shadow, curious about everything. Chapter 29, First Meeting with Bulma. Ha ha ha, am I rated so highly in the universe? No reward, no reward. Dr. Briefs couldn't help laughing happily after hearing Ren's praise. Immediately afterward, Dr. Briefs curiously looked at the spacecraft behind Ren. Ahem, what do you want from me? Two friends from extraterrestrial places. Dr. Briefs pushed up his glasses again and asked in a friendly manner. I heard that there is something called a capsule on Earth. Did a doctor invent it? Ren asked politely. That's right, I invented it. It's called a universal capsule. Dr. Briefs nodded and told the truth. He took out a universal capsule and explained, actually, to put it bluntly, it turns things into particles and compresses them. Stuff it into the capsule, and then go through the decompression and recovery process when needed. Can you help me make this spaceship into a capsule? Ren pointed to the spaceship behind him. Of course, no problem. Dr. Briefs looked excited. I just wanted to say. I also want to study this spacecraft. You can study it as long as you want, and don't break it. Ren agreed readily. It won't be broken, don't worry. Dr. Briefs laughed and hurriedly stepped forward to touch the spacecraft. It's amazing technology. In this universe, there is such a genius. Character. What kind of material is this made of? There seems to be no similar material on Earth. Ren said nothing. As for what the material is, Ren doesn't know. Broly doesn't understand anything at all. He is curious about everything. So curious, Broly saw a black cat and was looking at the black cat. The black cat hunched over and stared at this unfamiliar face with a wary expression. Broly, don't stare at the black cat, this guy is awesome. Ren greeted Broly. Broly. A long time ago, I saw with my own eyes that a black cat once held a pistol and knocked off a mouse's ears with one shot. Ren said with emotion. Broly looked confused, completely confused. Is there such a powerful black cat? Dr. Briefs asked in surprise. Yes, it was on the news at that time. Ren nodded. Really? Is that what happened on your planet? Dr. Briefs asked while looking at the spacecraft. Yeah. Ren nodded again and asked, how long will it take to transform this spaceship into a capsule? I'll go in first and look at the structure inside. Dr. Briefs climbed toward the spacecraft. Come on, come on. Ren cheered Dr. Briefs from behind. Briefs. Broly looked at it confusedly, unable to understand anything. Immediately afterward, Broly ran aside to study the grass and suddenly felt that this thing looked strange. Dr. Briefs entered the spacecraft and began an unknown exploration of its internal structure. What advanced technology! After studying for half an hour, Briefs finally exited the spacecraft. Based on the structure of this spacecraft, it will take at least a month to transform the spacecraft into a universal capsule. Briefs pondered. Okay, then I'll trouble you, Doctor. Ren nodded lightly. No trouble, no trouble. It's my honor to be able to study advanced alien technology. Briefs pushed up his glasses and said excitedly, and then added, during this period, if you don't mind, you can stay at our house. I don't mind. Ren nodded. But then again, are you aliens that tall? Briefs found that the other party had no ill intentions and asked curiously. Just as Ren was about to speak, he heard a voice from a distance. Dad, I'm back. After the words fell, Bulma came running from a distance, cheering. Ren glanced at Bulma in the distance. Bulma is only 5 years old this year, 1 year younger than Ren. Strictly speaking, Bulma is 10 months younger than Ren. So now they are considered to be the same age. Bulma, who is only 5 years old, has a cute pink face, blue hair tied into a high ponytail, and a pink dress. She looks like a little rabbit when she runs and jumps. Bulma, are you after school? Briefs looked at Bulma, running over with a doting look on his face, and rubbed her head. Dad, do you know? I heard that a large spaceship appeared in the suburbs of Dongdu today, and 2 aliens flew out of the spaceship. Bulma danced excitedly, lively. I just said that the universe is so big, there must be aliens. Briefs. Immediately afterward, Briefs turned his head and glanced at Ren. Dad, who is he? Is he your illegitimate son? Bulma pointed at Ren and asked Briefs. Briefs wiped his sweat silently. Ren also covered his head and was speechless for a moment. How did the little girl talk? Huh? Dad, what is that giant thing behind you? Is it the new technology you just developed? Bulma blinked her bright eyes and quickly noticed the spaceship behind her father. With that said, Bulma quickly ran over and touched the spaceship's exterior with her pink hands. What a strange material! Dad, what kind of material is this? Why have I never seen this material before? Bulma asked curiously, is it the latest alloy developed by Dad? This is my daughter Bulma, Briefs quickly introduced to Ren. Children are ignorant. I hope you won't be offended. It's okay, it's okay. Ren smiled calmly, it looks like she is about the same age as me. Ah? Are you only 5 years old this year? Briefs surprisedly adjusted the glasses on his nose and looked at Ren without blinking. Yes. Ren nodded. Ahem. It's amazing. Are you traveling at the age of 5? Briefs smiled bitterly, his eyes filled with endless admiration. Dad, what are you talking about? Bulma looked curious at Ren and then at her father, Briefs. Bulma, if my guess is correct, he is the alien you mentioned, Briefs said with a smile. Bulma was stunned at that time. Her eyes widened with disbelief on her face. Chapter 30, Do you want to become a god? Da da, da da. Bulma quickly ran up, carefully observing Goku, becoming more curious. Bulma, be polite, Briefs quickly said. Huh? Is this a tale? Regardless of whether Goku agreed or not, Bulma said, reaching out to grab his tail. Gaku! Are you polite? What a fun tail, Bulma said, rubbing it in her hand, it's fluffy, just like my teddy bear. Briefs remained silent, showing remorse. Luckily, Briefs noticed that Gaku wasn't angry, so he relaxed. Bulma, why don't you play with this friend from outer space while I find something to transport the spaceship to the lab? Briefs said, you're about the same age, so you should be able to play together. Okay, Bulma innocently nodded. Briefs rode away on his bike. On the other hand, Broly was staring closely at a clump of grass nearby. Poor child! It was probably his first time seeing a plant, so he was curious about this furry thing. Broly even lightly brushed the grass with his tail. Immediately, Broly's tail was tickled by the grass, causing him to burst into laughter. Hearing Broly's laughter, Bulma glanced over. Who's that guy? Bulma asked strangely, is he your companion? Yes, his name is Broly, Gaku nodded, I'm Gaku. You're an alien, Bulma still couldn't believe it, carefully observing Gaku again, you don't look much different from us, except for having an extra tail. Gaku didn't respond. I heard you can fly. Is that true? Bulma blinked rapidly, asking again. A little bit, Gaku said, slowly levitating. Bulma. Bulma was astonished. Gaku slowly descended. Hey, do aliens also have men and women? Bulma asked again. They do, Gaku nodded, but I'm afraid the women on our planet are probably extinct. Huh? What do you mean? Bulma asked in amazement. When we left our planet, it was destroyed by a villain, Gaku sighed slightly. Destroyed by a villain? That's so pitiful. So does that mean you're homeless now? Bulma sighed with him, then comforted, it's okay. From now on, consider this place your home. That's good, Gaku nodded. Hehe, tomorrow is my kindergarten graduation ceremony. Can you come with me? Bulma smiled. Gaku. Are you trying to make me attend your kindergarten graduation? Are you showing off in front of your classmates? Sure, I can, Gaku agreed readily. That night, Bulma's family prepared a sumptuous dinner for Gaku and Broly. Gaku and Broly enjoyed the food immensely. Bulma's family was amazed. What an astonishing appetite, they ate more than 40 people's worth of food each. Bulma's mother, Bikini, widened her eyes in astonishment. Are they starving ghosts reincarnated? Bulma whispered. Feel free to eat, no need to be polite, Briefs laughed heartily, then instructed the chef beside him, prepare more food. Yes, the chef was also stunned. Indeed, Gaku had never eaten such delicious food. Most of the food on Vegeta was ham. Even Gaku's starch intestines were more sought after than ham on Vegeta. You see, the ham on Vegeta was made entirely of meat. I have to say, the food on Earth is delicious. The TV next to them also played a news report, mainly about Gaku and Broly appearing on the outskirts of East Capital. During that time, Dragon World's mobile phones were unpopular, so Gaku and Broly's appearance was not captured by any cameras. According to eyewitnesses, 2 aliens appeared in the sky above the western outskirts of East Capital, and their height was about 1 meter, the announcer said. Later, experts confirmed that the spaceship that appeared was a new technology developed by Capsule Corporation, and the aliens who came out were holographic projections. Bulma. Are the news reports all fake now? Bulma, acting like a little adult, said somewhat speechlessly. An expert came to our house in the afternoon, so to avoid unnecessary trouble, I told the expert that, Briefs replied. At that time, Bulma felt a little depressed. You've even debunked the alien story, how will I show off with Gaku at my kindergarten tomorrow? It's a headache. Luckily, Gaku can fly. Maybe then, they'll know Gaku is an alien. Oh, Bulma, is tomorrow your kindergarten graduation? Bikini asked gently. Yeah, finally, don't have to worry about kindergarten homework anymore, Bulma breathed a sigh of relief. Gaku, do aliens not go to school? Bikini asked Gaku. We never go to school, Gaku nodded. Don't you go to kindergarten, elementary, or even middle school? Bulma asked. No, otherwise, how could I have started traveling when I was 5? Gaku smiled. Mom, I want to travel too, I'm about to graduate from kindergarten, Bulma pouted, asking. Where does Bulma want to travel? Bikini asked with a loving face. Of course, to travel to outer space. When Dad finishes modifying the spaceship, let Goku take me to outer space, Bulma suggested. Sure, but some planets may not suit you to survive. You might die as soon as you arrive on those planets, Goku told the truth. Bulma. Goku was right. There are so many planets in the universe, and each planet's gravity and environment differ vastly from Earth's. Let alone other factors, Bulma's delicate body would be in trouble standing there if the gravity is twice that of Earth. Goku has many planets to visit in the future, so bringing along Bulma as a tag-along is impossible. When I become a god, I'll take you out to play. No matter which planet you go to, I can guarantee your safety at that time, Goku added. Become a god. Bulma was stunned. Chapter 31, I want to become the greatest god in the universe. Do you want to become a god? Briefs adjusted his glasses and looked at Ren in surprise. God. Bikini also showed curiosity on her face. Only Broly was eating there with great enjoyment, his mouth was full of oil, and he turned a deaf ear to Ren's words. Yes, I want to become the greatest god in the universe. Ren explained with a smile. Oh, your ideals are lofty, Briefs laughed. After eating, Bulma's parents went to do their own business. Ren and Bulma stayed in the courtyard. Broly lay down on the lawn, patted his bulging belly, looked up at the starry sky, and showed a contented look. Broly suddenly felt that this life was really good. It would be great if I could eat so happily every day. Hey, Ren, where will we play next? Bulma held Ren's hand with some excitement. Shall I take you up to the sky for a spin? Ren suggested. Okay, okay. Bulma was extremely excited. Come, I'll take you flying. Ren said, holding Bulma's waist with one hand and taking her into the sky. Wow, that's so fun! Bulma cheered loudly. Is it fun? Ren smiled. Faster! Bulma suggested. Okay, let's fly quickly. Ren held Bulma in his arms and accelerated the flight speed. It's great. It's almost catching up with the speed of the plane my dad built. Bulma became more and more excited. Flying, Bulma suddenly saw a tall tower appearing in front of her. The tower towered into the clouds and looked eye-catching in the night sky. Huh? What a tall tower! Bulma blinked with curiosity on her face. Let's go up and have a look. Ren said, holding Bulma in his arms and continuing to fly upward. After flying to a certain height, Ren and Bulma saw the top of the tower. The top of the tower is an oblate round house, which looks a bit quaint. Is that a house? Are there people living in it? Bulma was a little scared and held Ren's arm tightly. Let's go in and have a look. Ren suggested. Be careful, someone who can live in a place like this, maybe he is a monster. Bulma's face turned pale. It's okay. If it's a monster, I'll slap him to death. Ren smiled slightly and led Bulma into the tower. The next moment, Bulma saw a grey white-haired catman in the tower at a glance. The catman also had a cane in his hand. Catman. The catman also looked at Ren and Bulma in surprise. It is indeed a monster. He is a cat monster. Bulma was so frightened that her face changed color, and she hurriedly said to Ren. Ren? Shoot this monster to death. Monster. Show your true form quickly. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death. Ren shouted at the catman. The catman wiped his sweat silently. Ahem. I'm not a cat demon, the cat's mouth spits out human words. He spoke, it is indeed a monster. Bulma became even more frightened and hurriedly hid behind Ren. The catman felt that his whole body was not well then. He coughed again, showed a bitter smile, and explained, to be precise, I am the cat fairy, also known as the Gallon Fairy. Cat fairy. Bulma was stunned. That's right, there's nothing I don't know. This little girl is Bulma, the second lady of the Universal Capsule Group, right? Immortal Korin said with a smile. Huh? You know all this? Bulma looked at Immortal Korin in surprise, then pointed at Ren and asked Immortal Korin, then do you know him? This is a friend from an alien planet, right? Immortal Korin said with a confident look on his face. Ah? You know everything. Are you an immortal? Bulma was filled with admiration. Then do you know which planet I come from? Ren asked. Immortal Korin. Immortal Korin's smile froze on his face. Yes, do you know which planet he comes from? Bulma also asked. Ahem. To be honest, I only know what happens on our Earth. As for what happens on alien planets, what I can know is relatively limited. Immortal Korin showed an embarrassed look on his face. So that's it, I understand. Bulma nodded thoughtfully. Since you are an all-knowing immortal, I want to ask you something. Ren said seriously. This friend from aliens, please speak. Immortal Korin responded politely. I have been looking for a magical thing. Once this thing is eaten, it can quickly restore physical strength and heal injuries. Do you know where to find it? Ren asked. Immortal Korin. Aren't you talking about fairy beans? You are right to come to me. I happen to have this magical thing here. I will get it for you right now. Immortal Korin said and brought up a jar of fairy beans downstairs. Immortal Korin placed the jar of fairy beans in front of Ren. Ren took a cursory glance and found that there must be thousands of fairy beans in this jar. With so many fairy beans, I wonder why they disappeared later. Were they all eaten as snacks by that fat man Achilobe? This friend from Alien, is this what you are looking for? Immortal Korin said with a smile, this is a fairy bean. After eating one, you will not be hungry for 10 days, and it can even restore your physical strength and heal instantly. All serious injuries. Ah! Are these beans so magical? Bulma stepped forward and grabbed a handful of beans, looked at them carefully, and whispered, they look no different from ordinary beans. Can I have a taste? Okay. Immortal Korin had no objection. Forget it, let's not eat it. If you eat one and you won't be hungry for 10 days, you won't want to eat delicious food for 10 days, right? Bulma immediately shook her head and put the fairy beans back. Immortal Korin. What brain circuit? Ren stepped forward unhurriedly, releasing a little invisible angelic power in his hands and covering the fairy beans. Immortal Korin was slightly startled. What does this kid mean? Immediately afterward, Ren looked at Immortal Korin with a smile and asked, Immortal Korin, how many beans are there in total? This. I haven't counted, Immortal Korin wiped his sweat, there are probably several thousand, right? Aren't you a fairy? Don't you know how many there are at a glance? Bulma asked strangely. Immortal Korin didn't want to talk at that time. I am indeed a fairy, but the question is, why should I count how many fairy beans there are in this jar? Immortal Korin, can you give me all these fairy beans? Ren asked with a smile. Immortal Korin. Immortal Korin wiped his sweat silently. You are a lion with a big mouth. Do you want them all? Chapter 32, I feel like he is more like God than me. This, if you take 10 or 20, I won't object, if you want them all, cough, this, Master Korin tactfully refused. I could have grabbed them directly, but I'm more reasonable. Mr. Ren sighed, how about this? If I can guess how many beans are in this jar, you will give them all to me. Deal. Master Korin. Brief silence. Master Korin nodded lightly, indicating agreement. So, do you still want to guess how many beans there are? I want to see if you can guess it right. Ren, can you guess it? Bulma asked softly. No problem. Ren smiled, there are a total of 6,158 beans. Really? Shall we count them? Master Korin's heart sank, looking carefully at the beans in the jar. Let's count them. Ren said, snapping his fingers. Snap. With a light sound, the beans in the jar flew out of nowhere. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Immediately, these beans quickly gathered in groups of 3 or 4 and divided into 6 piles, floating in the air. Upon closer inspection, there were detailed divisions divided into 10 small parts within each of the 6 piles of beans. Now we have 6 piles of beans in front of us. Each pile has 10 small parts, and each part has 100 beans, you can count them. Ren smiled, as for the remaining 158 beans, I have separated them for you. Master Korin widened his eyes, his expression filled with endless astonishment. How did he do it? Why do I suddenly feel, he's more like a god than me? Even the old man in the sky wouldn't be able to do this, would he? No need to point, you win. Master Korin wiped his sweat. Okay, then I won't be polite. Ren wasn't very polite, snapping his fingers again. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, all the beans neatly flew back into the jar. Thank you. Ren thanked. You're welcome, Master Korin smiled bitterly. Let's go. Ren waved to Bulma. Let's see if there are any other treasures left. After all, he's a hermit. Bulma suggested quietly. Master Korin didn't want to talk anymore. You've all taken all my beans, now you're asking me if there's anything else? I feel like there's nothing left, Ren shook his head. Then forget it. After all, I'm the daughter of a wealthy family. I don't lack anything. Bulma pouted and said with a smile. Master Korin. You don't lack anything, yet you ask me if there are other treasures. Let's go. Ren hugged Bulma and flew away from Korin Tower. At the same time, Ren released a hint of angelic power, covering the beans on the jar. Immediately, the jar of beans followed behind Ren. Ah! Can the jar fly, too? Bulma was amazed. The jar. Ren was taken aback. Ren, the beans belong to you, but the jar belongs to me. Bulma became interested, it's the first time I've seen a flying jar. Ren. Okay, it's yours. Ren didn't object. If you knew the jar couldn't fly, I wonder what your attitude would be. By the way, can you help me make a device to store beans? Like a storage space or something. Ren said to Bulma. Leave it to me. Bulma patted her chest, readily agreeing. Ren knew that Bulma was a genius despite being only 5 years old. A genius in science. In the special Galactic Patrolman episode, 5-year-old Bulma created a powerful energy gun. Pulling the trigger, the energy gun shot into the sea, causing waves several tens of meters high, frightening Galactic Patrolman Gak. That's why Ren entrusted Bulma with creating storage space. Ren believed that Bulma could accomplish this glorious and arduous task. What kind of storage space should I make? Bulma pondered with her head down. How about a ring? It's more convenient to wear on your hand. Ren suggested. You're really smart, okay? I'll do as you say. Bulma nodded, it'll take about a day to make it. It's not difficult, just need to modify the universal capsule a little. So simple? Then thank you. Ren thanked. Not a problem, but I'll need to borrow your tail to play with for a couple of days. Bulma giggled and grabbed Ren's tail. Ren. What's so fun about a tail? Ren was speechless. It's so fluffy and fun to play with. Bulma giggled as she stroked Ren's tail. Because you don't have one, you think it's fun. Ren said. Yeah, it's because I don't have one. Bulma nodded earnestly. There'll be even more fun tales in the future. Ren replied. Bulma. Where? Bulma asked. You'll find out when you grow up. Ren smiled. Humph, you talk as if you're older than me. Aren't we the same age? Bulma pouted. Ren didn't say much, flying swiftly through the night sky. Before long, Ren returned to the headquarters of the Universal Capsule Corporation with Bulma. It was around 9 p.m. A waning moon hung in the sky, a gentle breeze blowing, carrying a fresh scent, giving a poetic atmosphere to the night. Broly was lying on the lawn, looking up at the moon in the sky, not knowing what he was thinking. Seeing Ren and Bulma return, Broly quickly got up. Broly, what are you looking at? Ren asked curiously. Dad, Broly pointed to the moon in the sky, suddenly thinking of his father on the planet Vampa. My dad is still on that planet. Shouldn't we bring him over, too? Ren, your companion can talk. I always thought he was mute. Bulma looked at Broly in surprise, whispering to Ren again. He can talk. He just doesn't express himself clearly. Ren nodded. What did he call you just now? Bulma didn't hear earlier. Dad, Broly pointed to the moon again, still unsure how to express himself in words. Ah? Did he call you Dad? Bulma heard it this time, her young face filled with endless astonishment. Have you already married and had children? Can aliens marry and have children at 5 years old? You're so lucky. Chapter 33, Boyfriend. I'm not married, Ren shook his head. Then is he your illegitimate child? Bulma looked increasingly surprised, staring at Ren as if he were a monster. Ren impatiently pinched Bulma's cheek. Don't pinch my face. It's easy to drool, Bulma grumbled. Ren slowly let go of Bulma's cheek. Bulma's little face was too tender, pinching it made it feel like it was about to get wet, which was quite satisfying. Hehe, I was just joking with you. Even though I'm only 5 years old, of course, I know you can't be married and have children at your age, Bulma chuckled mischievously, revealing a row of white teeth, then asked strangely, but why does he call you daddy? He calls anyone he sees, daddy, who knows, Ren shook his head. Bulma. Bulma walked up to Broly, tilting her head to examine him. Daddy, Broly pointed to the moon in the sky again. Call me mommy, Bulma wiped her sweat. Broly scratched his head in confusion, murmuring, Mom, Mommy. Early the next morning, Bulma went to Ren's room and pulled him out of bed. Honestly, Ren had never slept so soundly before. Perhaps it was because Ren had returned to Earth, and, combined with his past life experience, he was more accustomed to the environment here. Although the Earth in the Dragon Ball world was slightly different from Ren's previous Earth, at least the air quality here was better. After all, environmental protection on Earth in the Dragon Ball world was relatively good. Moreover, the cars in this world use the most advanced energy technology, so carbon dioxide emissions are relatively low. It could be said that the oxygen content on Earth in the Dragon Ball world was still very high. Ren had just arrived here and felt like he was living in an oxygen bar. Although Ren no longer needed to breathe to survive, some fresh air was occasionally refreshing. Are all aliens this lazy? Hurry up and get up, I'm going to attend kindergarten graduation today, it's the biggest day of my life, Bulma pulled Ren up. Ren. It's just kindergarten graduation, nothing special, Ren sighed. You promised to accompany me to kindergarten, Bulma pouted, afraid Ren would break his promise. Fine, let's go then, Ren nodded without objection. Before setting off, Ren specifically instructed Broly not to run around or cause any trouble. Broly nodded as if he understood. Ren was relatively reassured about Broly, he wouldn't berserk if no one provoked him. When Broly wasn't in berserk mode, his personality was quite easygoing, almost no different from the good-natured boy next door. Moreover, Broly had many curious things to explore. Even the ants moving house on the ground could capture his attention for hours. Bulma usually went to kindergarten by herself. Dr. Brief and Bulma's mother, Mrs. Brief, had nurtured Bulma's independence from a young age. Moreover, Bulma's home was close to the kindergarten, only about 200 meters away. Bulma happily carried her little backpack, holding Ren's hand, and ran towards the kindergarten. Bulma. Just as they arrived at the school gate, they heard someone calling Bulma's name. Ren turned around and saw a little girl with blue hair like Bulma. Emily. Bulma greeted the little girl warmly and introduced her to Ren, she's my good friend, Emily. Bulma, who is he? Emily ran up curiously, examining Ren, then immediately noticed the tail behind him, this tail is so fun. Ren. Are little girls nowadays this casual? They just reach out and grab my tail. Snap. Bulma reacted faster, reaching out to stop Emily's little hand, and said sternly, Emily, don't move. That's my tail. Humph, so stingy, can't I play with it? Emily pouted, looking unhappy. No, Bulma already regarded Ren's tail as her property. Ren was speechless. Is this my tail or not? Just play for a bit, Emily pleaded. Not even for a bit, Bulma decisively shook her head. Spoil sport, I won't play with you anymore, Emily stomped her foot and walked away. I won't play with you either. Bulma humphed. Ren silently wiped his sweat on the side. They're such fickle little sisters. They're falling out over this? Ren, I'm telling you, you're not allowed to play with Emily. Bulma said seriously to Ren. Okay, I won't play then, Ren nodded indifferently. What's so fun with you two little girls anyway? If I didn't have to stay here for a while, would I come to the kindergarten graduation ceremony? However, Dr. Brief says the kindergarten teachers here are quite attractive. It might be worth coming to take a look. Ren wrapped it around his waist to avoid further trouble with the tail. Then, Ren followed Bulma into the classroom. And the moment they entered the classroom, Ren immediately saw Bulma's teacher. Sure enough, she was a beauty. Although she wasn't as pretty as the future Bulma, her looks were at least above 90, and her figure was impeccable. Especially her two long legs, which are so white and alluring. After seeing Ren, the teacher paused momentarily, blinked her beautiful eyes, and looked at Bulma. Teacher, he's my boyfriend here to attend my graduation ceremony, Bulma introduced. Ren. Do you introduce people like this? Do little brats even know what a boyfriend is? The teacher hesitated momentarily, then forced a bitter smile, nodded awkwardly, and didn't say much. The teacher felt a bit uncomfortable. Do the kindergarten kids already have boyfriends? And here I am, still single. Bulma pulled Ren to sit down in her seat. Bulma, is he your boyfriend? Emily, her desk mate, asked curiously. Didn't you say you wouldn't play with me? Bulma humphed. I was wrong. Forgive me, Bulma. Emily held Bulma's hand and apologized. Okay, I forgive you, Bulma readily nodded. Can you lend me your boyfriend for 2 days? My cousin, a year younger than me, already has a boyfriend, I can't accept it. Emily pursed her lips, requesting. You can borrow him, but you're not allowed to play with my boyfriend's tail, Bulma thought seriously and answered. Ren was speechless. These two plastic sisters made up so quickly? Chapter 34, Teacher, he said he is an alien. Okay, deal. Emily happily reached out and grabbed Ren's hand. Ren. Hey, Emily, I'll lend him to you tomorrow. Today, he's my boyfriend, Bulma pulled Emily's hand away. Alright, fair enough, Emily didn't object. Ren silently wiped his sweat on the side. I, a god aspiring to become an angel, am now being treated as a pet by 2 little girls in kindergarten. Isn't this too much? Bulma, when did you talk to my boyfriend behind my back? How come I didn't know? Emily blinked her eyes curiously and looked at Ren, adding, but your boyfriend is handsome, even more handsome than my cousin's boyfriend. What do you mean talking to your boyfriend behind your back? Bulma snorted, very disapproving of this statement. You said you wanted to marry me when you grew up, Emily was a little unhappy. You're also a girl, I'm also a girl, we can't get married, Bulma shook her head. Sometimes love can ignore gender, Emily argued. Ren wiped his sweat again. I'm being defeated by these kindergarten brats now. Is this something a kindergarten brat would say? Ren decided to fight back a little. Ren, which kindergarten did you attend? Emily asked curiously. Me? I never attended kindergarten, Ren shook his head. Emily blinked, somewhat unbelieving, that's impossible. How could you never have attended kindergarten? Who doesn't go to kindergarten nowadays? Hehe, Ren is from another planet. Over there, they don't even have kindergartens, let alone elementary or middle schools, Bulma chuckled, explaining on the side. From another planet? Are you an alien? Emily was even more amazed. You understand me well, Ren nodded, yes, I come from another planet, hundreds of billions of light years away from Earth. Ah? Hundreds of billions of light years. Emily was so shocked that she could fit an egg in her mouth. Brief silence. Bulma, how long is hundreds of billions of light years? Emily turned to ask Bulma. Ren. You're so ignorant. A light year is a unit of length, not time, Bulma snorted, hundreds of billions of light years means the distance light travels in hundreds of billions of years. Currently, the speed of light is the fastest, reaching 300,000 kilometers per second. Ah? Although I don't understand, it sounds like a long distance, Emily scratched her head, probably farther than from my house to the southern hemisphere. Humph, so uncultured, Bulma didn't want to bother with Emily anymore, then asked Ren, Ren, your planet is so far from Earth, your technological level must be quite high. MMHM, Ren nodded. But why did you come to our planet? Emily asked again. I came for tourism. There's a saying, traveling thousands of miles is better than reading thousands of books, that's why, Ren replied, so I feel sorry for you Earthlings, always studying. And there's endless homework. Who says it's not? Fortunately, Bulma and I are about to graduate from kindergarten, so we won't have to do homework anymore, Emily breathed a sigh of relief, swinging her little head. Don't rejoice too soon. I heard that on your planet, kindergarten is just for playing. Real studies start in elementary school, especially in middle school, where there's more homework and more subjects like physics, chemistry, biology, geography, science, etc. The homework won't be finished before midnight, Ren sighed deeply, and that's just middle school. Wait until you get to high school. I won't say more, afraid you'll be discouraged. Emily. Bulma. The 2 little girls looked at each other and immediately turned to Ren. Who told you that? Emily and Bulma asked at the same time. I'm an alien. I know everything. If you don't believe me, you can go ask around, Ren whispered to them. After saying that, Ren paused for a moment. Oh, and if you want to ask about middle school students or something, don't ask your parents because your parents won't tell you the truth, Ren added as a supplement. Emily and Bulma looked at each other, their young faces filled with grievances and fear for their future life. Is what he said true? Bulma. Emily wanted to cry. It seems to be true, Bulma thought for a moment, nodded seriously. I often see my sister having unfinished homework, and she still goes out to play before the holidays. Fortunately, we're good. Look at me, only 5 years old and already traveling, Ren sighed. Wow. Emily couldn't hold back anymore and burst into tears, immediately attracting the attention of her classmates. The teacher also curiously looked over at Emily. Emily, what's wrong? The teacher approached with concern. Wah, he said we'll have even more homework in elementary and middle school, Emily cried even more sadly. The teacher didn't know how to console her for a while. Because what he said was too true. Many classmates heard Emily's words, and many of them were infected, crying. The whole class was in tears. Bulma didn't cry. You've done it, ruining our graduation ceremony, making all our classmates cry, Bulma glared at Ren angrily. I'm just telling the truth, Ren sighed slightly. Wah wah wah, Bulma suddenly cried, too. Why are you crying? Ren asked, you're not even shedding tears. Can't I not cry? The classmates in our class are all crying, they'll think it's because of me, and then the teacher will scold me again, Bulma pouted and muttered softly. You're about to graduate anyway. Do you still need to be afraid of your teacher? Ren asked. What you said makes sense, Bulma thought carefully and agreed. The teacher tried to comfort them for a long time, calming one down only to have the other one start crying, making him flustered. Teacher, he said he's an alien, Emily sobbed a few times, raising her hand to report. Suddenly, all the children stopped crying and focused their gaze on Ren. Chapter 35, Bulma's Dragon Ball. Yes, I am a warrior from outer space, simultaneously, I am the greatest god in the future universe. Ren said, slowly floating up. Wow! The children in Bulma's kindergarten cheered and danced excitedly. Bulma, I'll give you a very special graduation ceremony today. Ren reached out to Bulma. A special graduation ceremony. Bulma was puzzled for a moment, then reached out her hand. Ren took Bulma's hand, lifted her, and flew out the window. The teacher was startled, her face pale with shock. Snap! Ren snapped his fingers. At the same time, Ren gently raised his hand, and a brilliant flame burst from his hand. The flame sparkled like diamonds, shining brightly at this moment. Here we go! Ren waved his hand again. The brilliant flame quickly condensed and transformed, forming several large characters instantly. Bulma, happy graduation! Bulma was both surprised and delighted, her bright eyes sparkling. Can you snap your fingers? Ren asked. No, but I can try. Bulma hesitated for a moment, then lightly snapped her fingers. Though not very loud, those 7 large characters suddenly bloomed, forming a brilliant fireworks display in the kindergarten. Wow! All the students and teachers in the kindergarten were stunned, innocently thinking that this was the latest technology developed by Bulma's family. Let's go! Ren waved to everyone, taking Bulma and flying into the sky, soon disappearing. Hey, Bulma, don't forget to let me borrow your boyfriend for a few days. Remember? Emily shouted from below. Ren almost fell to the ground with a somersault. These little girls nowadays are something. Wait until you grow up, okay? What's the point of playing with you when you're so young? In just a moment, Ren returned with Bulma to the courtyard of the Capsule Corporation headquarters. Broly was watching ants move, looking very happy. Ren temporarily ignored Broly, instead raising his hand to create a glittering golden sphere with 2 stars in the center. Bulma was still immersed in the special graduation ceremony just now. Wait, I don't think I attended the graduation ceremony. You set off a special fireworks display, and then we left the kindergarten. Bulma, have you seen this before? Ren asked. What? Bulma looked puzzled at the golden sphere that Ren had conjured up, showing a confused expression and scratching her head. I seem to have seen it somewhere, but I can't remember. Think about it carefully, Ren suggested. I'm thinking, Bulma pondered, then suddenly looked up at Ren, her bright eyes shining, and asked, Hey, Ren, are you a magician? You can interpret it that way, it's fine, Ren nodded seriously. Bulma. What do you mean by it's fine? It either is, or it isn't. Ah! I remember now, our warehouse seems to have a similar sphere, come with me. Bulma said, taking Ren's hand and running towards the direction of the warehouse. Broly looked up in this direction, immediately giving up on observing the ants and quickly catching up. Ren! Bulma! The two looked at Broly together. Eat, eat! Broly asked excitedly. It's not even mealtime yet? It's only 9 AM. There are still 3 hours until mealtime. Bulma rolled her eyes, not kindly saying to Broly. Broly looked confused, with a hint of disappointment in his eyes. How long is 3 hours? I want to eat. There's a robot over there. Tell it what you want to eat, and it will prepare it. Bulma pointed to a robot in the distance, waving to the robot, Gyru, come here, prepare something for Broly to eat, whatever he wants, you go make it for him. Robot Gyru is a floating robot similar to a soccer ball. Hearing Bulma's command, its eyes twinkled with light, immediately flying over from a distance and replying, got it. Go, ask Gyru for something to eat, Bulma said to Broly. Broly scratched his head, staring strangely at the robot Gyru. For a moment, Broly was attracted by this strange thing. While Ren and Bulma continued to run towards the warehouse, Broly blinked and stared at the robot Gyru without blinking. What are you looking at? Gyru suddenly spoke. What are you looking at? Broly imitated Gyru's voice. What's it to you? Gyru replied. What's it to you? Broly continued to learn. Ha 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 ha. Gyru burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Broly laughed along. Gyru. So, comfortable. Broly felt so good just now. Gyru remained silent, the light in its eyes flashing continuously, seeming unable to keep up with the rhythm. According to the program settings, shouldn't you say something like I give up now? Why are you still so happy? What are you looking at? Broly said again. What's it to you? Gyru replied. What are you looking at? Broly persisted, enjoying being shocked by the electricity. Zap! Another electric light shot out from Gyru's eyes, hitting Broly, who shivered all over from the shock and then burst into excited laughter. What are you looking at? Broly repeated after laughing. Zap! What are you looking at? Broly was tireless, getting shocked continuously. Guided by Bulma, Ren followed her into the warehouse. The warehouse was filled with miscellaneous items, all sorts of things piled together in a mess. The air was filled with the smell of dust. Bulma rummaged through the warehouse momentarily, quickly finding a 2-star Dragon Ball. Is this it? Bulma bounced over to Ren with the Dragon Ball in her hand. Yes, that's it. Ren nodded. What's this? Bulma tilted her head, curiously examining the 2-star Dragon Ball. This is called a Dragon Ball. Legend has it that there are a total of 7, as long as you gather all 7 Dragon Balls, you can summon the Shenron and make any wish come true. Ren answered truthfully, just say, come out, Shenron, and Shenron will appear. Really? How amazing! With a somewhat puzzled expression, Bulma suddenly became interested and asked, but how do we find the other 6 Dragon Balls? Ren remained calm, not speaking. Chapter 36, Broly, I give you a mission. Let me see this Dragon Ball. Bulma reached out. Ren handed the Dragon Ball to Bulma. Bulma took the Dragon Ball and examined it carefully. Then she found a strange device in the warehouse and studied the Dragon Ball with it for a while. I have a way. There's a special light wave on this Dragon Ball. We can use a device to search for the light waves and find the other 6 Dragon Balls. Bulma's young face was full of excitement. Oh? You can do it. Ren was slightly surprised. Of course, I'm a genius, Bulma giggled. I can do it in a day. It's not difficult. Let's go back to the lab. Ren nodded. Bulma was indeed a genius. At age 5, she could make a Dragon Ball radar. Truly amazing. Regarding Bulma's genius mind, Ren was deeply touched. Everyone has their place in life. Just like Bulma, she was naturally suited for research and scientific research. In the story, Son Gohan was led astray by his mother. He was an excellent warrior, but he insisted on being a scientist. In terms of technology, Son Gohan was nowhere near Bulma. But in terms of combat level, there was naturally no comparison. After Ren and Bulma exited the warehouse, they found Broly smoking all over, lying on the ground, laughing. The robot gyro had stopped flashing. What happened? Bulma quickly ran up and checked gyro's battery. Huh? Only 2% left? How is this possible? Gyro's standby time is at least 10 years. How could it run out so quickly? Look at you. Broly grinned, spitting out these 4 words. Gyro's remaining bit of battery flashed out a burst of electricity. However, before this burst of electricity could hit Broly, it lost its effect in midair. Were you making gyro shock you all this time? Bulma was completely speechless. Although this voltage won't kill anyone, it's still very painful. No, not painful. Broly shook his head. Aren't you hungry? Why would gyro shock you? Ren asked strangely. It said. Then, Broly still wasn't good at expressing himself. You'd better not speak. I recorded it. Bulma pressed a button on gyro. Immediately, gyro played back the conversation between the two. Listening to the conversation between the two, Ren silently wiped his sweat, even considering whether to train Broly into a god of destruction. Would I be laughed at if I made a silly guy a god of destruction? Hey, Ren! Bulma also immediately pulled Ren aside, lowering her voice, is your companion a fool? He's pitiful, living on a planet without even water since he was a child, unable to eat or dress warmly, Ren sighed, so he looks silly. Why doesn't he eat meat? Bulma asked curiously. Ren. Indeed, Bulma was a technological genius. Under her father's guidance, she made the Dragon Ball radar in less than a day. Ren looked at the Dragon Ball radar made by Bulma and found that it was almost no different from the one 11 years in the future. It was still a palm-sized circular instrument with a button on top. As long as you press the button on the instrument, the location of the Dragon Ball will be displayed on the circular screen. Ren, look, the center of this point is the position of our Dragon Ball. As long as we find the positions of the other 6 points, we can gather all 7 Dragon Balls, Bulma excitedly pointed to the 6 points on the screen. Broly, come here, Ren beckoned to Broly, who was lying on the lawn staring blankly at the white clouds. Broly got up from the ground and quickly ran over. Ren explained to Broly how to use the Dragon Ball radar. Broly scratched his head, seeming to understand. Now, I entrust you with a glorious mission. Take this Dragon Ball radar and go find the first Dragon Ball, Ren ordered, remember, don't break the radar, and don't kill anyone. Broly nodded understandingly. Put this on. Ren put a monitoring camera on Broly's head. The monitoring camera was responsible for capturing the footage of Broly looking for the Dragon Ball. Broly looked down curiously at the monitoring camera, smiling foolishly. Off you go. Ren handed the radar to Broly and pointed to a Dragon Ball farther away. Broly scratched his head again, then quickly took off into the sky, flying towards the distance. Ren let Broly search for the Dragon Balls because he hoped this kid wouldn't be so foolish. If he couldn't even find the Dragon Balls, then I might as well send him back to the planet Vegeta and bring Vegeta back. I don't want to turn a fool into a god of destruction. Ren, can he do it? Don't get lost, Bulma didn't have much confidence in Broly, always feeling that he was emitting foolishness. Let's see, Ren pondered. Even if Broly couldn't find his way home, Ren could find him through sensing energy, so it wasn't a big deal. Ren, what wish do you want to fulfill? Bulma blinked her bright eyes and asked Ren. Give Broly the ability to survive in space so he can train with me in space, Ren said truthfully. Ah? What kind of wish is that? Bulma shook her head, her ponytail swaying back and forth. Let's see if he can find the Dragon Balls first, Ren added. Ren believed that Broly shouldn't be foolish, he just lacked experience. As long as he travels more globally, he should adapt quickly. Above the clouds, Broly flew rapidly with the Dragon Ball radar in hand, heading towards the direction of the first Dragon Ball indicated by Ren. While flying, Broly occasionally glanced at the Dragon Ball radar in his hand. 20 minutes later, Broly looked down and saw a light spot appear at the center of the Dragon Ball radar. Scratching his head, Broly looked down and caught sight of a tiny island below. The island was small and beautiful, with a quaint miniature house. Broly looked at the Dragon Ball indicated by Ren on the radar, then at the Dragon Ball in the central area, and finally turned his gaze to the island below. After a brief hesitation, Broly made a decision. He descended from the sky and landed precisely on the island. Chapter 37, Why don't you practice martial arts? Broly pressed the Dragon Ball radar button and immediately looked toward the house according to the radar's instructions. Broly walked towards the house. Creak. Broly pushed open the door. In the room, there was suddenly a beautiful drum beat. Broly turned his head toward the sound and saw an old man with a turtle shell on his back, watching a program on the TV. Broly curiously approached and saw 3 bikini-clad beauties dancing on the TV. Having seen TV at Bulma's house before, Broly wasn't particularly curious about it. But what puzzled Broly was, what's so interesting about these 3 beauties? Broly ignored them and searched for Dragon Balls with the Dragon Ball radar. Suddenly, Broly glanced and found the Dragon Ball hanging around the old man's neck. Broly felt happiness come too suddenly and quickly snatched the Dragon Ball from the old man's neck. The old man immediately regained his senses and looked at Broly in surprise. "What are you doing?" The old man looked at Broly and then at the Dragon Ball on his neck. "Mine." Broly held the Dragon Ball and said to the old man. "Who are you?" The old man asked strangely, "How did you get here?" Flew here." Broly pointed to the ceiling. The old man. "Flying Nimbus? Are you Master Roshi's disciple?" The old man frowned and asked Broly. "Who?" Broly didn't understand. "That bastard Roshi sent a kid to bother me? Why didn't he send a few beauties to bother me?" Master Roshi clenched his fists angrily and gritted his teeth. Broly scratched his head, completely clueless. Brief silence. "Mine." Broly pointed to the Dragon Ball. "That ball I found in the sea this year, you want it?" Master Roshi snorted, "I won't give it to you." Master Roshi quickly grabbed the Dragon Ball from Broly's hand. "Mine." Broly was angry, glaring at Master Roshi. "I won't give it to you." Master Roshi made a face at Broly. Swish. Broly quickly approached and grabbed Master Roshi's head. "Master Roshi! Such fast speed! When did Master Roshi get such a powerful disciple?" Bang! Broly pressed Master Roshi's head directly through the wall of the room onto the island and slammed it onto the ground. Immediately, Master Roshi's head had intimate contact with the sand. Then, Broly pressed Master Roshi's head and rubbed it hard on the sand. Master Roshi cried out in pain. After a minute, Broly snatched the Dragon Ball from Master Roshi's hand and stepped on him. "Mine." Broly grabbed the Dragon Ball and said stubbornly to Master Roshi. Master Roshi was tearful. "To think that I, a grand martial arts master, was beaten by a kid today? It's embarrassing. Who is this kid anyway? As long as he's not Master Roshi's disciple." While Master Roshi was still trembling with fear, he also breathed a sigh of relief. 40 minutes later, Broly returned to the Capsule Corporation headquarters with 2 Dragon Balls and appeared next to Ren, taking out the 2 Dragon Balls from his arms. Found them." Broly grinned. "Oh? Why are there 2? Ren was a little surprised. "It's a coincidence." Broly replied, "Snatched them, from the old man." "Forget it, I'll check the surveillance." Ren removed the surveillance camera from Broly's neck and operated a computer. Broly followed behind, stretching his neck curiously to watch. Suddenly, the computer screen showed Master Roshi's face. "It's him. Wouldn't give. I hit." Broly explained. Then, Ren saw Broly grabbing Master Roshi and beating him up, swaggering to snatch the Dragon Ball from him. Ren carefully observed that Broly didn't use too much force. With Broly's combat power value, a little more force could easily turn Master Roshi into nothing. But it seemed that Master Roshi's injuries were not too serious, just superficial wounds. Not bad, not bad." Ren nodded in satisfaction, patted Broly's shoulder, and praised him greatly. "Although this kid looks silly, he's not." Ren only asked Broly to find 1 Dragon Ball, but he returned another one along the way. "So, next, I'll give you another mission." Ren smiled. "Mission? Like it. Can fight." Broly replied. Ren. "Don't always think about fighting." Ren wiped his sweat. "Fight. Fun." Broly said. Ren was speechless. This kid has a destroyer's style. Chapter 38, See you again in the future, number 17 and number 18. "Have you seen the location of this Dragon Ball?" Ren pointed to another Dragon Ball in another direction and gradually zoomed in on the map, giving the accurate location. Broly scratched his head and nodded again. Remember the location of this Dragon Ball with your mind. This time, you won't bring the Dragon Radar. Can you find this Dragon Ball? Ren asked. Broly carefully looked at the Dragon Radar and memorized the map and direction in his mind. About 10 seconds later. I remember, Broly replied. Go ahead. Come back early to catch lunch, Ren smiled and hung the camera around his neck. Ren mainly wanted to see the experiences happening to him. If there's no problem, help Broly gain the ability to survive in space. Open the door to further cultivate his god of destruction. Lunch. Broly's eyes lit up, immediately soared into the air, and swiftly flew towards the distant Dragon Ball. As soon as Broly left, Bulma walked out of the room and saw 3 Dragon Balls placed on the table. Broly brought 2 of the Dragon Balls, and the other one was the 2-star Dragon Ball in Bulma's warehouse. Ren, did Broly come back so soon? Bulma asked in surprise. He's back, Ren nodded. He found 2 Dragon Balls so quickly. Bulma blinked her big eyes, picked up the 2 Dragon Balls, carefully examined them, and seriously commented, they're authentic. Ren. Do you need me for something? Ren asked. According to the agreement, tomorrow I'll lend you to Emily, Bulma replied. Ren speechlessly wiped his sweat. Let me clarify first, you're not allowed to let her play with your tail. Bulma pouted and reminded. Let's talk about it later, Ren neither refused nor agreed. What do you take me for? I'm the greatest god of the future. Did you lend me to your little girlfriend? I'm going to find the Dragon Balls, Ren soared into the air with the Dragon Radar, not wanting to talk to Bulma anymore. The current girls are something. So young, yet borrowing boyfriends back and forth? I wonder what you'll think when you grow up? Hey, take me with you! Bulma shouted from below. Ren ignored her, accelerated, and soon disappeared without a trace. Following the directions on the Dragon Radar, Ren quickly appeared directly above a Dragon Ball. Ren looked down and suddenly felt like he'd been to this city before. Isn't this the East Capital suburb where the spaceship landed when I first came to Earth? So, the Dragon Ball is in this location. Ren found that where the Dragon Ball was stored was a quaint little house with a courtyard of about 10 square meters. In the yard, a little boy was playing with sandbags. The little boy looked about 5 or 6 years old, with short black hair, a handsome face, and a somewhat fierce look in his eyes. Ren met him yesterday. His name is Lapis. If nothing unexpected happens in the future, Lapis will be transformed into Android 17 by Drive Gero. Ren looked in the direction of the room again and saw Azuli sitting at the table by the window, biting her lower lip and writing quickly. Doing homework. Poor future number 18, in the first grade of elementary school, and already so much homework? Not only has to finish her homework but also has to help her brother with his. Is the Dragon Ball world this intense? The parents of the 2 kids aren't at home, they should be busy with other things. Ren guessed that Lazuli and Lapis's father should be members of the Red Ribbon Army, with a decent position, at least a deputy general or something. After all, Lazuli's family looks relatively wealthy. Otherwise, Dr. Gero wouldn't casually choose a pair of siblings for research. As for that Dragon Ball, according to the display of the Dragon Radar, it's in Lazuli's house. Ren descended slowly from the sky and appeared next to Lapis. Alien? Is it you? Lapis recognized Ren at a glance. Training here? Ren smiled and asked. Of course, I want to be the strongest man. Lapis's face, with its childish look, was full of pride and confidence. Is your homework done? Ren scolded. Lapis felt a sting in his heart at that moment. You mind your own business. Lapis glared at Ren angrily. Homework is a pain that breathes, living in everyone's mind. In first grade, you only learn 1 + 1 = 2, Ren sighed. When you get to middle and high school, you'll know there are even harder problems that will give you headaches. It hurts not knowing how to solve a problem. It even hurts just looking at it. Lapis. You're talking nonsense. Lapis became flustered. How's your boxing? Ren asked with a smile. I'm amazing. Lapis said, throwing a punch at the sandbag and feeling quite proud. How was it? Alien. My punch is powerful, right? Even adults can't take it. Oh. Ren calmly walked up and lightly tapped the sandbag with his finger. Crash. The sandbag shattered on the spot and spilled everywhere. Lapis was stunned, standing still, staring with wide eyes, showing an incredulous expression. We aliens have it tough. We don't train with sandbags from a young age, we train with hard rocks, Ren patted Lapis on the shoulder. Lapis was speechless, unable to say anything. Just as they were talking, Lazuli walked out of the room. Only 6 years old, Lazuli, like the future number 18, had a cold face. The blonde hair on Lazuli's head was tied into a ponytail, swinging back and forth as she walked. Alien. Lazuli also quickly recognized Ren's identity. I'm Ren, Ren smiled. You're so mean. Do you know that after you left, my mom beat me and my brother hard? Lazuli pouted angrily at Ren, but if you're willing to take my brother and me to play on your spaceship, I can choose to forgive you. Do you have that ball? Ren said, raising his hand lightly, conjuring a light ball resembling a dragon ball. The two siblings glanced at each other. That thing seems to be in Mom's jewelry box, Lazuli blinked her eyes and muttered quietly. I've seen it too, Lapis nodded. Give me that thing, and I'll find time to take you to play in space, Ren smiled. I'll go find it. Lapis immediately rushed into the room, rummaging through boxes and cabinets, finally finding the dragon ball and about to hand it to Ren. Have you seen the location of this dragon ball? Ren pointed to another dragon ball in another direction and gradually zoomed in on the map, giving the accurate location. Broly scratched his head and nodded again. Remember the location of this dragon ball with your mind. This time, you won't bring the dragon radar. Can you find this dragon ball? Ren asked. Broly carefully looked at the dragon radar and memorized the map and direction in his mind. About 10 seconds later. I remember, Broly replied. Go ahead. Come back early to catch lunch, Ren smiled and hung the camera around his neck. Ren mainly wanted to see the experiences happening to him. If there's no problem, help Broly gain the ability to survive in space. Open the door to further cultivate his god of destruction. Lunch. Broly's eyes lit up, immediately soared into the air, and swiftly flew towards the distant Dragon Ball. As soon as Broly left, Bulma walked out of the room and saw 3 Dragon Balls placed on the table. Broly brought 2 of the Dragon Balls, and the other one was the 2-star Dragon Ball in Bulma's warehouse. Ren, did Broly come back so soon? Bulma asked in surprise. He's back, Ren nodded. He found 2 Dragon Balls so quickly. Bulma blinked her big eyes, picked up the 2 Dragon Balls, carefully examined them, and seriously commented, they're authentic. Ren. Do you need me for something? Ren asked. According to the agreement, tomorrow I'll lend you to Emily, Bulma replied. Ren speechlessly wiped his sweat. Let me clarify first, you're not allowed to let her play with your tail. Bulma pouted and reminded. Let's talk about it later, Ren neither refused nor agreed. What do you take me for? I'm the greatest god of the future. Did you lend me to your little girlfriend? I'm going to find the Dragon Balls, Ren soared into the air with the Dragon Radar, not wanting to talk to Bulma anymore. The current girls are something. So young, yet borrowing boyfriends back and forth? I wonder what you'll think when you grow up? Hey, take me with you! Bulma shouted from below. Ren ignored her, accelerated, and soon disappeared without a trace. Following the directions on the Dragon Radar, Ren quickly appeared directly above a Dragon Ball. Ren looked down and suddenly felt like he'd been to this city before. Isn't this the east capital suburb where the spaceship landed when I first came to Earth? So, the Dragon Ball is in this location. Ren found that where the Dragon Ball was stored was a quaint little house with a courtyard of about 10 square meters. In the yard, a little boy was playing with sandbags. The little boy looked about 5 or 6 years old, with short black hair, a handsome face, and a somewhat fierce look in his eyes. Ren met him yesterday. His name is Lapis. If nothing unexpected happens in the future, Lapis will be transformed into Android 17 by Drive Gero. Ren looked in the direction of the room again and saw Azuli sitting at the table by the window, biting her lower lip and writing quickly. Doing homework. Poor future number 18, in the first grade of elementary school, and already so much homework? Not only has to finish her homework but also has to help her brother with his. Is the Dragon Ball world this intense? The parents of the 2 kids aren't at home, they should be busy with other things. Ren guessed that Lazuli and Lapis's father should be members of the Red Ribbon Army, with a decent position, at least a deputy general or something. After all, Lazuli's family looks relatively wealthy. Otherwise, Dr. Gero wouldn't casually choose a pair of siblings for research. As for that Dragon Ball, according to the display of the Dragon Radar, it's in Lazuli's house. Ren descended slowly from the sky and appeared next to Lapis. Alien? Is it you? Lapis recognized Ren at a glance. Training here? Ren smiled and asked. Of course, I want to be the strongest man. Lapis's face, with its childish look, was full of pride and confidence. Is your homework done? Ren scolded. Lapis felt a sting in his heart at that moment. You mind your own business. Lapis glared at Ren angrily. Homework is a pain that breathes, living in everyone's mind. In first grade, you only learn 1 + 1 = 2, Ren sighed. When you get to middle and high school, you'll know there are even harder problems that will give you headaches. It hurts not knowing how to solve a problem. It even hurts just looking at it. Lapis. You're talking nonsense. Lapis became flustered. How's your boxing? Ren asked with a smile. Humph, I'm amazing. Lapis said, throwing a punch at the sandbag and feeling quite proud. How was it? Alien. My punch is powerful, right? Even adults can't take it. Oh. Ren calmly walked up and lightly tapped the sandbag with his finger. Crash. The sandbag shattered on the spot and spilled everywhere. Lapis was stunned, standing still, staring with wide eyes, showing an incredulous expression. We aliens have it tough. We don't train with sandbags from a young age, we train with hard rocks. Ren patted Lapis on the shoulder. Lapis was speechless, unable to say anything. Just as they were talking, Lazuli walked out of the room. Only 6 years old, Lazuli, like the future number 18, had a cold face. The blonde hair on Lazuli's head was tied into a ponytail, swinging back and forth as she walked. Alien. Lazuli also quickly recognized Ren's identity. I'm Ren, Ren smiled. You're so mean. Do you know that after you left, my mom beat me and my brother hard? Lazuli pouted angrily at Ren, but if you're willing to take my brother and me to play on your spaceship, I can choose to forgive you. Do you have that ball? Ren said, raising his hand lightly, conjuring a light ball resembling a dragon ball. The two siblings glanced at each other. That thing seems to be in Mom's jewelry box. Lazuli blinked her eyes and muttered quietly. I've seen it too, Lapis nodded. Give me that thing, and I'll find time to take you to play in space, Ren smiled. I'll go find it. Lapis immediately rushed into the room, rummaging through boxes and cabinets, finally finding the Dragon Ball and about to hand it to Ren. Chapter 39, Old Gohan. Wait a moment, little brother, don't give it to him like this. Let him take us on the spaceship first. Lazuli immediately grabbed Lapis. However, Lapis leaned close to Lazuli's ear and whispered something to her. Although the voice was low, Ren heard it. Lapis said, Sister, that alien just lightly crushed the sandbag. They usually use stones as sandbags for practice. Let's not provoke him. Hearing Lapis' words, Lazuli quickly glanced at the sand on the ground, showing no fear, and whispered, We have a gun at home. Hurry back and get the gun. If he dares to bully us, we'll shoot him. Okay. Lapis quickly ran home, took out a handgun, and aimed it at Ren, boasting, Do you know what this is? Ren. A brief silence. Don't know. Ren shook his head. This is a gun. I know you're amazing but not as amazing as bullets. With the gun in his hand, Lapis' confidence surged. Is this thing powerful? Ren gently gestured with his finger. Bang. Lapis's gun suddenly flew out and landed directly in Ren's hand. Do you know magic? Lapis was stunned. Lazuli was even more shocked. The two siblings looked at Ren holding the gun as if they were seeing a monster. Are all aliens this powerful? Lapis stuttered. Kids, don't play with guns casually. It's easy to hurt someone. I'm confiscating this gun. Ren said, and his angelic power shimmered momentarily, turning into a purple-red color. The purple-red light immediately acted on the gun. Snap! Suddenly, the gun turned into nothingness, destroyed. Give me that ball. Ren reached out his hand. Lapis tightly clenched the Dragon Ball and glanced at his sister. Give it to him. Lazuli made a decisive decision and ordered Lapis. Here, Lapis immediately threw the Dragon Ball to Ren. Ren caught the Dragon Ball and flew slowly into the sky. I'll take you out to play if I have time. Ren waved to the siblings and added before leaving, but, Lapis, don't forget to do your homework. Lapis. If you don't finish your homework properly or don't do it, you won't qualify to board my spaceship. Ren smiled. Then I won't go. Lapis snorted. Ren silently wiped his sweat. The 17th in the future sure has personality. Even a spaceship can't pique your interest in doing homework. We agreed, take me on the spaceship. Lazuli shouted with her hands around her mouth. Ren didn't say much, quickly leaving the scene. Next, Ren glanced at the Dragon Ball's radar and flew swiftly toward a certain mountain area. Just about 10 minutes later, Ren appeared in the sky above Mount Bayazai. On a certain peak of Mount Bayazai, an elderly man wearing martial arts attire, a green hat on his head, and a grey beard was practicing martial arts at his doorstep. It is worth mentioning that a 4-star Dragon Ball is embedded at the top of this green hat. Ren, from above, easily identified the man's identity. This old man is Goku's foster father, Grandpa Gohan. If things go as expected, he will take in Goku, who has been stranded on Earth from the planet Vegeta, and give him the name Goku. From then on, it will also start Goku's legendary story. One night, after being taken in by Grandpa Gohan, Goku turned into a giant ape when he secretly looked at the full moon while urinating and accidentally stepped on Grandpa Gohan. Later, Goku had a son, and to commemorate his grandfather, he deliberately gave his son the same name as his grandfather. Ren has always found Goku's way of thinking somewhat speechless. You commemorate your grandfather by giving your son the name of your grandfather. You are talented. Ren looked down and did not find Goku's whereabouts, which was unexpected. Goku should have come to Earth long ago. After all, Ren and Vegeta stayed on planet Namek for a while, then went to find Nappa and Raditz, which took quite some time. Although Goku's spaceship is relatively slow, it should have arrived on Earth several days ago, considering the time. Ren slowly released his senses, searching for Goku's whereabouts. After 10 seconds, Ren indeed sensed Goku's aura. Although Goku's power level is only 2, Ren, who cultivates angelic power, can easily sense his presence. Goku is currently about 3 kilometers from Grandpa Gohan in a straight line on another hilltop. No wonder Grandpa Gohan didn't notice him. Goku is eating wild beasts in the mountains. He also vividly displays the Saiyan's wildness. Moreover, Goku cries while eating. After taking a bite of raw meat, he bursts into tears, crying because his parents didn't want him and sent him to this strange planet. It can be said that Goku still retains some memories from planet Vegeta. Ren slowly descended from the sky and appeared beside Grandpa Gohan. Seeing Ren descend from the sky, Grandpa Gohan, who was practicing, was shocked and bewildered. You? Did you fly here? Grandpa Gohan rubbed his eyes and looked at Ren in amazement. Yes. Ren nodded. Judging by your age, you seem young, Grandpa Gohan scrutinized Ren and said thoughtfully. 5 years old. Ren extended 5 fingers and smiled, I heard you're very powerful, so I came to spar with you today. Haha, indeed, heroes emerge among the young. Then I'll spar with you. Grandpa Gohan said, his expression becoming serious, not taking Ren lightly because he was a child. Attack me with all your might. Ren waved to Grandpa Gohan. Chapter 40, First Meeting with Goku. That's it. No more politeness. Gohan said no more, swiftly rushing up with a step like an arrow and throwing a punch at Ren. Snap! Ren extended a finger, directly catching the fist coming towards him from Gohan. Gohan's fist landed on Ren's finger, feeling as if it hit into emptiness, and the force on the fist seemed to be instantly dissipated. Gohan was stunned, showing a face of astonishment, his grey-white beard trembling. I yield, Ren said. Gohan. Is that appropriate for you to say? A brief pause. Gohan immediately leaped backward, creating some distance from Ren, his face slightly changing. So powerful at just 5 years old? Who's your master? My master. Ren was slightly taken aback, calmly pulling out a book and tossing it to Gohan. Gohan caught the flying book, glanced at the big words on the cover, and couldn't help but mutter, Free Will Cultivation Guide. My master is this book. How does that saying go? In the book lies a golden house. In the book lies big waves of sisters. Ren replied. Gohan. Cough cough. Gohan coughed to cover up his embarrassment. Is that how it goes? Are you my master's new disciple? Gohan casually asked. The only person who could say such things might be Master Roshi's new disciple. Only Master Roshi would have such a hobby. Ren. Do I resemble that old lecherous turtle hermit? Free Will Cultivation Guide. Gohan said no more, flipping open the cover and briefly skimming through it, then fell into contemplation, feeling a bit emotional. Such profound martial skills, the body automatically avoiding unknown dangers without the need for brain judgment. Interested? Ren smiled. And after saying that, Ren lightly beckoned with a finger. Whoosh! In just an instant, the book in Gohan's hand flew away, returning to Ren's hand. What? Telekinesis? Gohan was once again astonished. How about it? Ren smiled and asked again, do you want to learn? I want to learn. Gohan nodded seriously. Just now was just to let you have a glimpse, Ren said with a smile. Gohan. If you want to learn, I'll leave this book on this mountain. You can find it yourself. Ren said, casually tossing the book away. Whoosh! The book traced an arc in the air and landed in a distant mountain area, quickly disappearing. If fate allows, you'll find this book. After saying this, Ren flew into the sky and disappeared quickly. Gohan. Goodbye. Ren quickly disappeared. Watching Ren disappear, Gohan also fell into contemplation. Immediately after, Gohan felt like something was missing. As if his head had become lighter. Gohan reached out to touch his hat and suddenly realized the shining ball on top was gone. Gohan was speechless. When did he take away my ball? I didn't even notice. This little guy is something. If he wanted to kill me, I would have been dead by now. Gohan broke out in a cold sweat. But then, Gohan suddenly remembered something. Yes, that book. That book looks interesting. I'll go look for it. If I can find it, I'll practice well. Maybe my martial arts realm will improve again. Gohan picked up a bamboo basket and quickly hopped toward where the book fell. The book of Free Will Cultivation Guide that Ren threw out was indeed copied, but it was copied by Ren through the power of angels from Whis' book. Ren intended to leave this copied book on Earth, waiting for someone with fate to discover it. Ren believed that the only person who could cultivate free will besides himself was probably Goku. However, according to the plot, Goku doesn't start cultivating free will until he is at least 40 years old. Leaving this book here might speed up Goku's entry into the ranks of free will. Gohan kept leaping in the mountains and soon appeared on another peak. Gohan stretched his neck, searching for traces of the book. The next moment, Gohan suddenly sniffed and smelled a strong smell of blood. Such a strong smell of blood. What happened here? Gohan turned his head and saw the jungle not far away, bloodstains everywhere, a mess, with traces of fighting. Gohan was speechless because there were many pieces of torn paper on the ground. Even on a rock, there were 2 words from the book's cover: free will. Gohan felt like crying without tears. Could it be that the beast tore the book apart? What a pity! Just as Gohan sighed, a figure suddenly rushed out and pounced towards Gohan. Snap! Gohan raised his hand slightly, easily blocking the attack, and clearly saw the opponent's face. In front of Gohan was a child who looked even younger than the person just now. Judging by the appearance, this child was only 3 years old and dressed very similarly to the person before. Gohan was startled, fearing that this child might be as powerful as the person just now, which would be troublesome. Gohan took a step back, distancing himself from Goku. Goku, on the other hand, pounced again, launching a fierce attack on Gohan. Although Goku had a combat power of only 2 when he was sent out, his combat power had slightly increased after coming to Earth and being in dangerous environments. Of course, compared to Gohan, there was a huge gap. After a few rounds of comparison, Gohan also understood the opponent's strength. Kid, you're no match for me. Gohan laughed, patting Goku down with a slap. Goku gritted his teeth in pain, glaring at Gohan. Kid, why are you here? What's your relationship with the person just now? Gohan showed a kind face, looking at Goku and asking. Goku remained silent. You seem very angry. Is it because I just hit you? Gohan smiled, how about this? I won't fight back, you can hit me back.